So let's talk about this new concept, which is the artificial intelligent CEO, or otherwise could be termed as the artificial intelligent executive branch, or just an automated executive branch. This is not intended to replace a CEO or the executive branch. It's just intended to enhance those processes that might be manual or might be repeated over and over again in the executive process. So the intention of this application is to allow us to reuse those processes. It also allows the shareholders and stakeholders of a company to be more in touch with the knowledge workers that are implementing these capabilities and investments in a company. And it just allows the executive branch to be able to prioritize and be able to add on more to their workload because they have this tool to facilitate some of those processes. So let's go through this application. This is a version of what's intended in Comculate Inc., which is to be able to provide a complex level of information and data, but with the appetite of providing an interface to allow users to interact with that data in a way that they could be able to discover, refine, and report on that data in very beneficial ways. And so you might say, well, I can't really, and let's say you're an executive and you're listening to this and you say as an executive, well, I don't really go through a discovery process. I do a lot of refinement, refining those priorities and being able to delegate that work. And I do a lot of reporting, either to allocate the funding or to attract funding and or to be able to delegate, but also report on the key KPIs and achieving those goals. So yeah, but you'll realize that not all executives work in isolation. More so, executives work as a unit, as a team. And so executives bring different perspectives to light that allow the entire team to realize where best to focus their attention, to learn from pitfalls, and to be able to benefit from the intellectual property that they have of previously engaging with their teams. So a discovery is part of that. A discovery means that not so much discovering your experience, you already have experience. Not so much discovering your skills, you already have your skills. It's more so discovering what other people's perspectives are and being able to incorporate that into your plan. The refinement is, like I said previously, refinement is where you have selected your priorities and then you need to refine those. You need to refine what is required to put those priorities into action, developing a plan and allocating resources, etc. And then reporting, that is where you motivate the team with the direction that the company's going, or you are reporting on the outcome of your initiatives. So let's go through the application and we'll go through each: discovery, refine, and report. And let's start with discovery. So you'll notice right away in the discovery phase, you have an industry standard model to follow. So this model is not specific to your organization, it's industry standard. And the reason why is it helps to keep in context not only where your company is going, but also what is the industry trends that your business is a part of. So in this diagram here, we have an industry standard model for retail. Now you can have different diagrams for different industry standards, but for this particular exercise, we're going to go through a retail model. So this is an industry standard for retail. So let's say you're in your meeting with the executive team and some shareholders there, some knowledge workers are in the meeting, and you're prioritizing where to invest your priorities for the next quarter and or the year or 3 years. And let's say you have representations from supply chain, you have representation from merchandising, representation from the storefront, including e-commerce, representation from finance or resource planning, human resource representation. So let's say you have the whole team. And from there, everybody has already come to light with what KPIs they already have. Every executive is always well prepared with their KPIs, and they're well prepared with their goals. The idea of a discovery process is to come in with some goals, come in with a plan, but the plan will adapt and change somewhat based on the perspectives from the rest of the team. And to be a good team player, to be adaptable, you need to be open-minded to everybody's perspective. So let's say the supply chain VP comes in and they feel that they're quite proud of their docking and pick packing capabilities. So if they are happy with that, let's just select those in the list. So we'll select those capabilities, and right away they show up in the desired outcome matrix. I'll get to the desired outcome matrix in a second. Right now I'm just going to go through a process of going in we're in a meeting, and we're selecting some capabilities that we're going to have discussions about, whether we're going to invest in them or report on some good outcome. So some good outcomes are our pick packing and our docking in supply chain. But let's say because the executive is suggesting that these areas are going well, they'd like to say that so that they can make a transition to requesting some investment on forecasting and replenishment. So let's say forecasting and replenishment would be really nice. It helps with the data science. It helps with being able to be able to analyze some information that's very appealing for the rest of the executive team. And it also helps to forecast and prepare inventory for upcoming trends, seasonalities, etc. So we'll select that, so that comes up in the desired outcome matrix table. And let's say we have some representation from storefront, and marketing is going to be a big focus in the meeting. And all the executives as well are very excited about this discussion. And so the marketing lead will suggest that the campaigns are going well. And the persona of their customers has been well defined, so we'll select that. But this is leading obviously to the investments in e-commerce, so we'll select e-commerce. And from here, we'll say that search and browse are doing well, but dropship is something that is appealing, and we're going to understand why that's appealing. So part of this discovery phase is to understand why things are appealing, why things are working well, or why things need work, instead of jumping straight to the KPI. So our executive branch, the executives already have some very eager to share KPIs and goals. But you'll tend to notice in meetings that when each executive is going off on their goals and their KPIs, the other executives may or may not feel in touch with that. So how do we feel in touch as a team with the direction or the priority setting? Well, it would be by understanding what is the desired outcome of these capabilities that we're discussing. So let's go through that first. Let's go top to bottom just to make it easier. We've already selected everything. So for e-commerce, we realize that our browse is doing well. So why is that? Well, our browse is doing well because we are reporting a higher satisfaction with our customers. So without any numbers to back that up, let's just suggest that it's doing well, and we're going to select as a desired outcome that our browse is top-notch for customer satisfaction. Our search is doing well too, and there's a lot of ways to measure the success of search. But in general, just having search is appealing, and really, whether you have the numbers or not to back up your progress, what is the real desired outcome of your search? So we'll have that discussion and we'll say, well, search does help with conversion. So if customers are able to find what they're looking for, they're more likely we can convert them to be able to create orders and check out those orders. So let's just select the check mark there. Now for dropship, let's say the e-commerce executive and on top of that, the supply chain executive both agree dropship would be a nice feature. And let's just say that this is this capability is tightly aligned with the e-commerce capabilities. So from here we'll say, okay, so in the desired outcome matrix, why would we want to deliver a capability of dropship? So we realize, well, it'll increase customer retention because let's say we have customers and they have access to these products they normally wouldn't have access to, and or the speed of delivery is quite faster through dropship. So we'll say we want to invest in that. So we'll say this requires attention. That's what we're doing, is we're selecting this red wrench, and that implies that this capability dropship requires attention that will help us to drive customer retention. But also, the supply chain executive will say, you know, what else helps is that we can actually increase our efficiency. And so the supply chain lead will also call that out and say, well, the executive will say, let's invest in that, and let's click the red wrench there. So you notice as soon as we click this red wrench, some requirements have been exposed, and we'll get that into the next section. So really what's under covers of this application is there's thousands and thousands and thousands of requirements associated with retail. And it just so happens that anytime we click a red wrench, we're actually correlating that capability based on that desired outcome to percolate up some requirements that might be impacted by that priority setting. So let's just quickly go through the rest of this, and then we'll get into those requirements. So the marketing executive will say our campaigns are doing well. The campaigns help with new customers. So we'll say that helps with conversion. So the whole point of a campaign is to drive conversion. Not only do we want to bring customers to the e-commerce experience, but we want them to enjoy the entire experience. At the same time, the executive for marketing also would like to suggest that they've been able to define their personas for their customers, and been able to correlate that with the user experience on the e-commerce site. So we'll say that the persona has, for this particular driver, the desired outcome for persona in this case is to increase customer retention. So those customers we already have, we want to keep them. So we've defined a way to know our customers well enough that we're able to keep them interested in our products and services. So then let's get into warehouse really quick. We'll get through this quick. So for docking, it's doing well. Docking obviously is good for quality, to being able to do quality assurance right at the dock. And also for auditing. For pick packing, let's say pick packing is doing really well for efficiency and for integrity. So we make sure that our inventory is in check. We have such a good process with, actually let's say we have something really good, but at the same time it also requires some attention, because we would like to relate this to forecast and replenishment. You need an efficient pick packing process to make sure you have real-time inventory, so that you have better input for your calculation to understand your forecast and replenishment for the plan for the next 6 weeks or 12 weeks, etc. So we'll click a wrench for that. Now for forecast and replenishment, desired outcome for that is we would obviously like to enhance our analytics, or our analysis is one of the desired outcomes. The purpose of this is anywhere where we have a wrench, what it has done is that has correlated with thousands and thousands and thousands of requirements associated with the industry of retail. And we've percolated those requirements up, and we've been able to you can see here there's an impacted requirements output, and everything we've selected has correlated with these requirements that you can see here that have been purposefully selected based on those desired outcomes, based on the capabilities that we'd like to invest in, based on selecting those red wrenches. So let's go into the next section. So our discovery process is complete, and we're just going to close this tab, and we're going to open up the tree tab, which is here. This tree tab is the refinement. Now, why do I say tree? I say tree because we've been able to expose thousands and thousands and thousands of requirements associated with retail, and we've been able to, if I open up this tree, you can see there's thousands and thousands and thousands of requirements. We've associated this with a tree. So we just have a tree of requirements, and so what that means is we have a very high level scope of requirements, which is either in the strategic operations or support module. So if you see here, if you click, the strategic operations support capability. If you click this, if you highlight the question mark here, it pops up the legend, and here's your legend. So you have your capabilities, your next level in the tree is your features, your next level is your component, your next level is your use case, and your next level is your requirement. So you can see as you trail down, you can see you have this this tree, and at the very bottom level of the tree is your requirements, and they've been there's a relationship between the requirements in each of the higher level contexts of the tree, which is capability, feature, component, use case, requirement. Now, when we went through the discovery phase, we noticed that some priorities have been set by checking the red wrench associated with the capability on a desired outcome matrix. As we selected those red wrenches, they become exposed, and now we've exposed them in this selected requirement summary. These are all the requirements that have been selected, correlating to what we selected in the previous phase. We notice that there's a total cost and total hours. What is that? So we look over to the right here, we have an estimation. It's the same number, but the estimation here is the potential estimation of that investment cost that will be required, which will take, in this case, from what we selected, it'll cost $348,000. It'll take 1,740 hours and 218 days. And we also get some insight into the teams that are impacted that we have to onboard to implement these capabilities. And we have the teams listed here with each of their hours required. So that has all been exposed for us, selected, correlated. This is the aspect of artificial intelligence that will help the team understand, based on what goals that they intend to invest in for the next quarter or year or 3 years, they understand the cost right away. The refinement then is to look at that cost and then understand if that cost is realizable, if it's too much or too little, and then from there refine out if we can take on more work in the same velocity of time, or take away some work so that the costs are lower. So the idea here is we can go through the tree and we can go through the requirements and take away some of the selected requirements or add new ones. So first of all, let's go through this selected requirement table, and then let's go to the tree associated with what's been selected. So let's start with the top of the tree, which is operations. So we'll open up operations, we'll open up the feature is the next level, we'll open up plan. Component is the next level, we'll open up managed sourcing, and then managed suppliers is the next level. You'll notice that there's 2 requirements here that have been pre-selected. So those were selected based on the capabilities that were checked when we selected that wrench. So in the refinement, we can say, well, is $348,000, is that is that too much to invest for these particular initiatives, or do we have room for more? Either that, and or in the discovery session or the refinement session, we might realize, there might be some other requirements we also might benefit from. And the reason why we might invest in those other requirements is to try to diversify our initiative so that we can realize a little bit more gain in case there's not enough gain to be realized from this initiative. We can add more requirements to get more punch, more bang for the buck, let's say. So let's say in managed suppliers, so far we selected supplier forecast and replenishment management. Obviously, this was selected because we're going to invest in forecasting replenishment. But let's say we also want to focus on data management across any new initiative, and we notice that there is a requirement for supplier data management. So we'll check that. And we notice there might be an impact or might not be an impact right away as soon as we check. So you'll notice we're at 370,000. And let's say we need to onboard a new vendor to make this work. And let's say we check that. We see now it's jumped up to 392. So it's not too bad. It's you could keep checking all day and then you'll keep adding costs. So there is a threshold, but right now the deviation from this estimation is not too bad as we select some of them. But if we don't like them, we can deselect them, and then it obviously changes the estimation again by deselecting. So that's the refinement process, is selecting and deselecting based on where we can budge, where we can budget. I was going to say budge the budget, but where we can budget for investing in the next quarter or however this plan is intended for in this process. So let's close the tree and let's go into the report. So in the reporting, we like to report what priorities we're focusing on, and that helps be able to focus our attention on where our funds are going, and then that helps us allocate our budget and also helps give us the approval to move forward and establish teams and implement these capabilities. When you select the reporting, you have a heat map. What this means is, as an industry standard, we have all the capabilities that are associated with, in this context, with the retail business model. Any capabilities associated with that are listed here. And so then what we do is we just highlight, with the heat map in mind, we highlight those areas we're going to invest. So you can see controlled inventories highlighted as a light investment. Wholesale supplier collaboration is highlighted in a heavy investment. This investment might be heavy in cost and or in time. So here we can further engage by selecting the team that might be correlated to implementing this capability. So in this context, let's say for inventory management, we want the logistics team to lead that. So we'll put the logistics team here. Let's say manage outbound logistics. We want that to go to the logistics team. And anything to do with sales, we want that to be assigned to the finance team. So here we can actually, even though there's some teams that have already been allocated based on our selections, we also would like to have an executive member be able to track, create the SLAs or the KPIs, create the KPIs and SLAs, but also report on the progress. The traditional process is, without this type of tool, the traditional process is you come up with your priorities and then you get some funding and then you just drive that funding right to project teams. Then the project teams run away with it, and they basically create their own requirements. And then you'll need an executive lead to be part of the steering committee meeting to make sure that the direction of this project is going to plan, because the team is coming up with requirements, and so you need to review to make sure that that team's on track. Well, with this tool, all the requirements are already known in advance, which is why this is such a benefit to be able to enhance the intelligence of the process. So yeah, this is a downloadable PDF, and then so the idea here is you can download it and then you can share it with your team. or put it up on a wall and put some pasties with it if you're doing some sprint planning, etc. So yeah, that's it for this application for now. Like, obviously, this is a production-ready solution to demonstrate the value of having an artificial intelligent executive branch. And yeah, click the question mark here also if you'd like to get some more information on Calculate Inc. What we're trying to achieve here, which is to enhance and harness innovation. And we have some driving principles here that are listed and guiding principles. And here we also have the user guide, so you can follow this user guide to use this application. You'll notice that the navigation of this application is quite different from anything else you've seen. And so the idea of this is we're trying to innovate. So when we innovate, we try to do new things, and we try to select those new things that potentially could be quite appealing and quite convenient for people to use. So we realize that potentially this type of navigation is quite elegant to use, very simple once you get used to it. And you'll notice a lot of what's happening in the experience is we present complex information. So we give you everything. We give you all the information you need. And then the idea is to simplify the experience so that you can navigate through all that information. And we prioritize only the information that is relevant to you at some point in time to allow you to move forward with that information. And then at any time, you still have access to all the other information. So that's why this is very appealing, to allow shareholders and stakeholders in a company be able to be in touch with the executive team and to be able to be in touch with the knowledge workers in the company. As well, likewise, knowledge workers will feel in touch with the projects that have been assigned to them because they have such a tool that gives them an understanding from a high level what the priorities are and how it relates to all of the other aspects of the business. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Apologize if it was a long video, but I felt it would be nice to go through each of these areas in some detail with some examples, and yeah, explore and have some fun. And yeah, reach out to me if you'd like to have some more insight into this particular experience, or if we do have some other industry standard models to use. But if you have an industry standard model you would also like to be added, this application is actually data driven, so we can incorporate any industry model and it'll immediately adapt to that information. Thanks for your time and have a great day. Thank you.